All right, welcome back to Anna Unfiltered, where we talk about all the things that are actually affecting Gen Z, dating, faith, culture, and all the messy in-betweens, and we do it without a filter. Today, we will be talking about relationships, worth, and where God fits into the conversation without just winging it like what most modern dating does.
1, 2, 3, 4.
To just go right into it, I'm not one to be nonchalant. I am a big advocate about knowing your worth and not wasting your time. And modern dating has completely ruined this. We have talking stages, situationships, sneaky links. Honey, you just don't want commitment. Let's be honest. Why would you waste your time? Why would I waste my time? Genuinely, if you don't want me, tell me. If you want me, tell me. And if you don't know what you want, you need to pray about it or you shouldn't be dating at all. It is really that simple. Now, I'm one to talk. I'm not saying that you should never date. If you're in high school, you shouldn't date. I'm not saying that. I've had boyfriends. I have had situationships. I've honestly just come around to this realization very recently. I struggled with giving into worldly desires and being desperate to feel loved by another person in that way. And I was forgetting my worth. This whole date to date thing just blows my mind. I will have conversations with people and I'll be like, yeah, I date to marry. And they're like, what? I don't know if it's because they think I'm too young or if it's just a out of this world concept. Like, I feel like it's not that uncommon. I have always had date to marry in the back of my mind. Every single person that I've ever dated, I saw myself marrying at that point in time. Now, looking back, I probably shouldn't have been dating. I feel like the reason a lot of it didn't work out was spiritual immaturity, especially on my part. And I was trying to manipulate my life without giving it to God. I never prayed about a relationship. I never prayed, Lord, is this guy my husband? I never prayed, Lord, is this what you want for me? I just never talked to God about my relationships, to be honest. And I think a lot of people need to be reminded, like women, you are valuable. Men, you're valuable too, but this is not about you right now. We as women are prizes. You have worth. However you want to define it, you need to see that. Because when you don't see your value, you settle. You settle for men who don't know what they want, who want you just for sex, who don't see your worth, and who don't pour into a relationship at all. And dating is not about how many people you can get with. It's not. In my opinion, it is not a flex to have 12 bodies. It's not a flex to have a body at all outside of marriage. And I hate the term body because it defines your worth in your physical appearance, when that is honestly the least important thing about you. You have a personality, you have a brain, you have ideas, you have a heart, you have a soul, and we want to define ourselves by our sexuality. It's ridiculous to me. And I will say, this is probably my biggest hot take within dating. One dangerous thing about purity culture is that it makes us think sex is dirty. It is not. It is not. It is a very beautiful thing created by God to bond two people together both spiritually and physically. And I will admit, sex is very awkward to talk about. And I feel like society has made it that way, which is the strangest thing to me because literally everybody has sex. It is a very normal thing. And it's just so crazy to me. There's two sides of the spectrum. You have people that think, oh, it's so impressive. I'm going to be on OnlyFans. I'm going to be a stripper. I'm going to be a porn star. And that's a whole nother episode. I am not shaming these women. I just think that it's terrible that we feel like we have to turn to that. And then you have the other side that won't even talk about it, that makes you think that it's so terrible to have these natural feelings when it's not. Society makes us feel like it's wrong to feel that way. And what's so dangerous about feeling uncomfortable talking about these things is that we don't have positive influences, adults, or just knowledgeable people pouring into us, telling us how to navigate these things. That is where the real problem starts. Parents or influential people in our lives are leaving us to figure this out on our own. And there's no voice saying, listen, it's okay and very natural to feel these things, but this is how you should handle it. And if we don't have that voice, we are going to make very bad decisions. By not talking to your child about it, you are hurting them more than helping them. And the longer you hold it off, the more time you're giving the world to tell your child what sex is about. The more time you're giving technology, their friends who aren't as knowledgeable about it, to find out what it is. And You might not be Christian. You might think it's okay to have sex outside of marriage. Whatever you define this as, it's still important to have the conversation because your child might be having sex right now and they might not know about STDs, about pregnancy. And if you do have that moral compass, they might not understand how soul binding that it can be. I found a section of Bryce Crawford's podcast that really stuck to me about sexual sin, and so I want us to all listen to it.
If you're really struggling with lust and sexual immorality and you can't seem to quit, the reason why you might not be able to quit sinning lustfully and sexually is because you're trying so hard out of your own willpower to break yourself out of the shackles of lust, you keep falling. Paul says that sexual sin is the only sin out of every sin that we flee from. Meaning if you think you can get in the boxing ring with sexual sin, you've already lost. The second you think out of your own willpower and strength that you can defeat sexual sin, you've already lost. You've already lost. That's the deception of sexual sin. You know what the devil says? The devil says, hey, you know what? You may not be having sex, but see as close to the line as you can get without crossing it, and you end up falling over. Guys, I'm not preaching at you. This is a message that I have to remind myself daily, man. Like, this stuff will enslave you. Sexual sin will enslave you. And you know what? To be honest with you, sexual sin might be the very reason that you feel like that there is a gap between you and God.
I mean, I couldn't have worded it better myself. Sexual immorality is the only sin that God tells us to flee from, because he knows we don't have the strength to do it alone. It took me so long to understand that men and women approach relationships differently. And I don't mean this at all in a negative way towards men. It's how you're hardwired, but also you need to be able to discern how to use these feelings properly. Now, it's easy to think, oh my gosh, he loves me. He says all the right things. He calls me pretty. No, I'm not trying to act like I know what men think. I don't. But don't you find it ironic that after he says all the right things and you think, oh, he likes me, and so you give him what he wants, the physical things that he wants, because you think he wants you and not just you, he ghosts you. I'm not saying all men are like this. There are good ones out there. I'm just saying that you should be very particular about who you give yourself to. I think a lot of people struggle with patience when it comes to finding your person. I definitely do. Sometimes I'll pray about it. I'll be like, please, God, bring him now. But it's not time. And also, it's okay to not know the why in God's plan. Y'all, I just had an experience with this. I thought I was so ready. All of these signs are pointing to what I thought was the right thing. And then God said, psych. And I didn't know why. I was so confused. I was so upset. But then I reminded myself of the prayer, if it's not your will, remove it. And y'all, God does not take his time whenever you pray that prayer. You better be careful when you pray that, because he will answer. But now that I'm out of that situation, I do have clarity. I do know the why. What I was so set on in that moment was blinding me from something else that God had put in my life. And if I kept pursuing what I thought God wanted for me, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I think with that impatience, we settle. I know I've already gone into this, but we get so desperate to feel loved by somebody else. When they put in the slightest amount of effort, we latch on to it. This just hit me like 7 weeks ago. If you are so desperate for love, and if you think you need to find your validation in a relationship, you should not be dating. If you can't find fulfillment in yourself, you are not in a place to be in a relationship. Your life is supposed to be you plus that person. That person is not your whole world. That is where unhealthy attachment begins. There is so much more that I could talk about, and I will talk about, but that's all I'm going to speak on today. There's so much more to say about relationships, God, sex, purity, culture. Trust me, we will be breaking this down in further episodes. There's a lot of nuance and a lot of personal experience that I want to keep sharing with you guys. But here's what I want to leave with you today. I hope we can all start holding ourselves accountable, me included. Try to resist those worldly desires. Relationships are fun, yes, but remember, your actions are affecting another person. If you're you're not ready to be dating, you shouldn't be. So I really hope that we can all take time to reflect on that. And I hope that there's someone in your life that you can talk about these things with and hopefully lean on each other. And if you don't have a person, you can always lean on God. We have a little guest visit from Willow. If anything in today's episode hits home for you, pray about it. Ask God to reveal to you what he wants you to see. And remember, your worth isn't defined by modern dating culture, who gives you attention. Your worth is God-given. I love you all so much. I am so thankful for all the support I've been receiving. Let's keep having these conversations unfiltered.